Hello pupils and to all the parents of grade 4, welcome to school year 2021 to 2022. So, I am your teacher. I am Sir Gerald L. Tabasa, but you can call me Teacher Ged. I will be your teacher in science. So, are you ready to start our lesson for today? Yes, so please prepare your learning activity sheet in science, your ball pen, and your notebook. So, let us have our first learning activity sheet for quarter 1, week 1. The objective for this learning activity sheet is classify materials based on the ability to absorb water, float, sink, undergo decay. Alright. So please read the presentation of the lesson. So as it states, everything around us is made up of matter. Matter can exist in different forms: solids, liquids, or gases. So, this learning activity sheet will focus on the discussion about what are those matter that can absorb water, float, sink, or will undergo decay. If you can still remember in your previous year, what is matter? Okay, matter are all those materials that occupies space. So everything that you see, may it be solid, liquid, or gas, are all matter. Okay, so the first thing that you have to be familiar is what do we mean by absorb? So when you say absorb, to take in something such as liquid in a natural or gradual way. So in other words, ito yung if the material can absorb something. Next, what do we mean by porous materials? When you say porous materials, these are those with small holes that allow air or liquid to pass through. What are the example of these porous materials? So, we have cotton. We have cloth. Or you can have also your t-shirts. So, any material which is said to be a porous material are those materials that absorb. Okay, so when you say these materials, these are those materials which are said to be porous materials. Sila yung mga may mga holes. So, because of this, they can absorb liquid. So, di ba, try nyo na yan? Yung cotton, i-dip nyo lang sa water, mabilis siyang mag-absorb ng water. So, those materials are porous materials. What else? Ano pa yung mga materials that has holes, may mga butas? We have paper, cardboard, sponges, pumice stones, cotton, untreated wood, and cork are those examples of porous materials. So take note, when you say porous materials, these are materials which have holes, may mga butas, and because of this, it can absorb water. So I hope that is already clear. Next, what do we mean by non-porous materials? When you say non-porous materials, these are those that do not allow air or liquid to pass through. These are stainless steel, hard covering, and the rigid synthetic element or other generally utilized substances. So, meaning to say, when you say non-porous, opposite of porous materials. ito yung mga walang holes. So, kung wala siyang hole, wala siyang butas, it cannot allow the water to get in or even air. So, tandaan nyo yan ha. Does not allow air or liquid. What are examples of these non-porous materials? We have bottles of soft drinks. So, ito yung mga plastic materials or even yung mga soft drinks which are made of glass. Okay? What else? Materials which are made up of styrofoam. Okay, di ba? Nakahawak na kayo niyan, yung mga disposable. Next, we have also yung stone. Stone does not allow water or air to get in. We have also fork and spoon. These are made up of stainless steel, which is hard for it to absorb water. Alright, so those are the materials that does not absorb water. So, take note of the words. When you say materials that absorb water, these are porous materials. When you say porous materials, these materials have holes, may mga butas, which makes these materials absorb water or liquid or even gas. On the other hand, when we say non-porous materials, these materials are what? Okay, those that does not absorb liquid or gas. Next, let's have materials that float and sink. What do we mean by sink? Dapat alam muna ninyo yan ha. What does it mean when we say sink? Based from your last, sink means to fall to the bottom of water. And when we say float, it means to stay on top. So, napakadali, di ba? Again, when you say sink, it means to fall at the bottom of water. So, umilalim. Okay? And when you say float, yung if materials can go on top of water. So, what are those materials that can float or that will sink? Okay, here are these materials. Materials that are made of metal or iron are those materials that will sink. Hindi ba? Nakatry na kayo niyan? Or even, mamaya, itry nyo. Get a fork or spoon and then you dip it or let it fall in your pail or sa inyong tabo, okay? Or sa inyong dipper or sa inyong langgana, okay? Then, what will happen to this stainless material? It will sink, iilalim. Because what? It is made up of metal or iron. And what are materials that will float? Okay, here are the materials. Those materials which are made of plastic, rubber, or any other light materials that will float. So, ang mga materials naman na gawa sa mga rubber, sa goma, sa plastic, or even sa mga light materials, styrofoam, yan. Diba? Kapag nilagay mo yan sa water, it will not sink. Hindi siya iilalim. But it will go on top. So, pag ito ay umiibabaw, then, that material floats. Is that clear? Okay. So, later, you can also try that. If you have your slipper, yung inyong mga tsinelas, itry nyo mamaya. So, kapag ito ay inilagay ninyo, di ba, sa ibabaw ng palanggana na may tubig, or even sa inyong mga pail, sa inyong balde na may tubig, it will float, di ba? Why? Because it is made up of rubber. So, just take note of those materials which are made up of plastic, rubber, or any light materials. It will always float. Okay, let us just remember that when materials sink or float, it does not happen immediately. There are some materials that float immediately, but there are some materials that does not sink immediately. Hindi sila mabilis. But you just have to familiarize of these materials. Because after some time, you will see if it will float or if it will sink. Next, we're done already with materials that float or sink. How about what do we mean by materials that undergo decay? First, let us define what is decay. When you say decay, to be slowly destroyed into bits in the presence of water, air, and soil. So, in other words, mga nabubulok na mga materials. Let us remember, not all plants and animals decay at the same time. It means to say, ang mga plants or animals, hindi sila sabay-sabay na nabubulok. Decaying materials become organic fertilizer that enriches the soil. So it means to say, decaying materials can be helpful. Why? Diba? Because these materials, for example, plants or dead bodies of animals, kapag ito ay nabulok, it will be part of the soil, and these decayed particles of plants or animals has nutrients that can make the soil become healthy. And plants and others can get nutrients from it. So it is helpful. Next, aside from decaying materials, there are also decaying materials that are rotten and can be decomposed because of bacteria that it absorb or it has. So meaning to say, ang mga materials ay nabubulok because of the help of bacteria. So, meron tayong mga iba't ibang factors na nagiging dahilan bakit nabubulok, bakit nagdi-decay yung mga materials. Isa na dyan is yung bacteria. Okay. Some of the decaying materials are this. Ito yung mga example ng mga decaying materials or mga pwedeng mabulok. Una, fruit peelings, mga balat ng prutas. Next, leaves. You all know that. Dead bodies of animals. Next, paper. And then, food. Okay, so these are some of the materials that will decay. And again, I repeat, they will decay differently and they will not decay at the same time. Pwedeng mauna mag-decay yung iba, pwedeng yung iba mahuli. But those materials will decay. So just like what I said, those materials will decay because of several factors. May iba't ibang mga dahilan. First, temperature. Dahil sa panahon, dahil sa init. Dahil sa lamig or dahil sa init. Sa amount of light. Okay? Sa moisture. Sa type of material that is decomposing. And the source of bacteria and fungi. So, these are some of the factors. So, class, that will be our lesson. Once again, what is the lesson for today? All about what? Okay, materials that absorb water and does not absorb water. What else? Materials that float or sink. And then, materials that decay. Okay. So, let us have a simple review. When we say materials that absorb water, these materials are said to be porous materials. May mga butas. And when we say materials that does not absorb, those materials that are non-porous. materials that does not have holes. And when we say materials that sink, materials that fall at the bottom of water. And when we say float, materials that stay on top of the water. And when we say materials that decay, those materials that decompose, mga nabubulok. Alright. Did you learn something, my dear pupils? Okay. Then, let us have this practice exercise. For practice exercise letter A, the instruction is write fact if the statement is correct and bluff if it is false. So, you may answer already in your learning activity sheet. Again, kapag tama or you agree with the statement, you will write fact. And if it is wrong, you will write bluff. Number 1. Metal spoon floats in water. Okay, I already said that a while ago. Okay, you can review your paper. Number 2. Pencil floats in water. Okay, yung pencil ba? And number 3. Fruit and vegetable peelings undergo decay. Is it a fact or bluff? Number 4, coins sink in water. And number 5, plastic bottles do not undergo decay. Just remember, take note of what I said a while ago. What are the materials made up of, so that you can determine if it will float or sink, or if it will absorb or does not absorb water. Okay, just write your answer in your learning activity sheet. So, let us now have letter B. Tell whether the materials are porous or non-porous by checking its corresponding column. So, you will just check, So, you will identify first the material and determine if it is porous. Kung ito ay porous, check the column for porous. If it is non-porous, i-check nyo yung column sa non-porous material. So, dito lang kayo mag-check. Okay? Isa lang for every column, isa lang yung pipiliin nyo. For number 1, rubber ball. Okay, yung bola made up of rubber. Is it a porous or non-porous materials? Balikan nyo yung sinabi ko kanina. Okay? Kapag porous, okay, mayroon siyang mga, okay, so, may holes. Kapag non-porous, without holes. Okay. Number 2, cotton balls. You already know that. Cotton. Number 3, styrofoam. Okay, check the proper column. Number 4, face towel. Okay, yung inyong mga face towel. And number 5, plastic toy car. For letter C, you will write true if the statement is correct. If the statement is false, you will change the underlined word or words with porous o kaya non-porous or absorb or can't absorb. I repeat, ipapaliwanag ko ito ng maayos. You will read first the statement or the sentence, and if it is correct, you will just write on the blank, true. But if it is wrong, you don't agree with the statement, check the underlined word and choose what proper word or term will make it correct. You will just choose between porous, non-porous, absorb, or can't absorb. For number 1, let's try number 1. Plastics are porous materials. So yung may underlined word dito is yung porous. But take note muna. Try to analyze the sentence. Is it correct or not? Plastics are porous material. If it is correct, you will write true. If you think it is wrong, then you will change the underlined word, itong porous na underlined word, papalitan nyo siya if it is non-porous or absorb or can't absorb. Okay? Sige, you can take your time. Alright? Or pwede nyong balikan mamaya. Let's just continue for number 2. Number 2, non-porous materials are materials having small holes that allow air or water to pass through. So pag sinabi daw na non-porous, mga materials daw na may small holes na nag-allow sa air or water to pass through. Try to analyze. We already discussed that. Okay. Number 3. Cotton is a porous materials. Do you believe in that? Okay, if it is a porous material, write true. If it is not, change the underlined word. Yung underlined word is porous kung ano yung tama. Non-porous or absorb or can't absorb. Number 4. Materials made out of cloth do not absorb water. So, yung mga materials daw na gawa sa fiber or yung cloth, okay, yung mga clothes na materials, okay, it does not absorb water ba? Okay, if you agree, then write true. If not, change the underlined word. If not, change the underlined word. Then, for number 5, untreated wood has the ability to absorb water. So, yung mga wood daw, does it absorb water? Okay, just write it on the blank. Okay, congratulations for finishing your practice exercises. Let's now have your evaluation. Don't worry, this will just check whether you understand our lesson for today. So the instruction is, you will just write the letter of the correct answer on the blank before the number. Number 1. Which of the following materials will decay easily when left on a table for 1 whole day? Which of the following materials will decay easily when left on a table for 1 whole day? So kapag iniwan nyo yung pagkain ito or yung materials na ito for 1 day, alin daw dito yung magdidecay? Letter A, cellphone. Letter B, spoon and fork. Letter C, mud. Or D, leftover foods. So pag sinabing leftover foods, yung mga tira-tira ninyong pagkain. Letter C, yung mud, putik. Okay? Number 2, all of the following materials will float except, okay, so lahat daw ng mga materials sa choices will float. But may isa na hindi. O, alin kaya yun? So pipiliin nyo dito ha. Which of these materials will not float? A, rubber ball. B, plastic bottle. C, scissor. Or D, styrofoam. Okay, you can do it. Number 3, which of the following does not belong to the group? So, alin daw dito ang hindi kabilang? So, just try to analyze kung alin dito yung posibleng hindi kasama sa grupo ng mga materials that absorb water, materials that does not absorb water, materials that sink or does not sink, or decay. So, titinan nyo lang kung alin yung naiiba. For letter A, sponges. Letter B, nail. C, paper. Or D, untreated wood. So, you will just check. Number 4, which of the following will absorb more water? Okay, so sino dito daw yung alin? Or alin daw dito yung mas mag-absorb ng water? A, paper. B, untreated wood. C, pumice stone. Or D, rag. So, pag sinabi nating rag, basahan. Number 5, it is a very porous material which makes it a natural absorber of water. So, when you say very porous, it has many holes that it can easily absorb water. Alin kaya dito sa mga choices? Okay, let us read. Letter A, plastic. Letter B, rug. Letter C, cotton. Or D, sand. Okay, my dear pupils, please write your answer in your learning activity sheets. So before you proceed or to continue, if you're not yet finished answering the 5 questions, since if you are still reviewing it, you can pause this video because I will be showing now the correct answer for you to check if your answer is right or not. Okay? Please pause this video. Alright, so check your answers if it is correct or not. Okay, so once again, I hope you learned for today's lesson for this week 1 of your Science for Quarter 1. Thank you for watching, and you can just chat me in my messenger if you have questions or comment in this video. Thank you and God bless.